All right, we're back. Continuing on. Um, I got a question. I got the question. Yep. Question was, is Baker Mayfield the Cleveland Browns' future? Um, I forgot who asked me that, but it was in simple conversation. They just wanted to know my take on it. I was kind of blown away, honestly. They're a fan of the Browns, so it comes as no surprise that they'd want other people's opinions on it. I'm a 49ers fan, and people can look at what Jimmy G did in the first couple of games of the season and make an assessment of their own. But I think he's our future. But I'm exposed to what he is doing on the field. I'm seeing every play. I'm seeing every snap taken. I'm seeing every down played. I'm seeing his strengths and weaknesses unfold and unravel in front of my very eyes. And a lot of people have a different way of looking at it, because a lot of people can notice what they see in their quarterbacks and see the pros and the cons in other people's quarterbacks, and they can see the things that the other quarterbacks do well and the other quarterbacks do wrong. So the question was asked to me, do I believe that Baker Mayfield is the future of the Cleveland Browns? Yeah, I do. I don't understand this idea that Baker is not the future of the Browns. As long as he can stay healthy, the Browns will be just fine. It's his rookie year. He's not exposed to the pro football level for the past 4, 5, 6 years like a lot of these veterans are. So you can't expect him to go undefeated right out of the gate. He's not Tom Brady and Joe Montana encapsulated like lightning in a bottle at quarterback for the Browns with minimal weapons at best. And it's weird to kind of think that he would be. Obviously, there's going to be some struggling. There's going to be a bit of a hardship. There's going to be a growing pain. But I think Baker will ultimately bounce through that. I like the kid. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders, and that's something that's very difficult to find. You look at today's youth, they don't really think logically. They think with emotion. They think out of desperation a lot of times. They just go right off the cuff with whatever they feel is best. I've always been sticking firm to the belief that don't make a big decision or don't make a big choice without taking 24 hours to evaluate it. And if you feel the same way that you do 24 hours after that point, then go ahead and go through with that. But if not, then you would show that time kind of healed the wound a little bit, or at least started to let it scab over. And I think that's what you're going to kind of have to see in a lot of quarterbacks. You're going to have to see whether they can think with a logical mindset. Excuse me. I like Jameis Winston. I think he's very capable. I think he's got a great chance to succeed as long as he had the proper decision making. He's got the legs to run for a 5-yard first down and then slide down. He's got the option to throw a check down pass as efficiently as he can an out route, 12 yards down the field from the line of scrimmage. But his decision making is not there. That logical sense of, or that logical mindset is not very intact there. And you look at a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who just took over for Jameis yesterday in the game against Cincinnati after Jameis got benched. 4 interceptions for Jameis. He missed the first 3 games of the season. He's played 4 games now in total? Started 4 games in total? 10 interceptions. Mind-boggling. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he'll throw picks, but at the same time, he's a guy that also tries to force the ball. And I think his interceptions come more from the inability to throw passes, especially in tight windows, with heavy accuracy. I think Jameis can be accurate. I just think the decision making is not there. He'll be out to the outside like yesterday. He'll roll out to the outside and try to throw the ball away, but instead of throwing the ball out of bounds and just getting it getting the clock stopped, not losing any yards. He throws it back towards the middle of the field, and it gets picked off. Ryan Fitzpatrick wouldn't do that. He would just throw a ball that wasn't necessarily on the mark, and that would get picked. And with Baker, back to the original topic, I think he has that logical mindset. I think he has the right head on his shoulders. I think he is, a very capable quarterback at the same time as I think he is a very capable individual. I think he's a very smart individual. I don't think he's going to be like a Johnny Manziel where he puts, partying ahead of the team, or he puts his own fun or freedom or joy ahead of the team's success. So that's where I didn't understand the Johnny Manziel comparisons earlier. I compared him to Johnny Manziel in terms of strength as a player, but not as an individual. As an individual, Baker is miles ahead of Johnny, or at least is miles ahead of what Johnny Manziel used to be, and hopefully is no longer. But I don't think Baker will do what Jameis did, where he'll throw back towards the middle of the field and have it get picked off when he could just easily throw it out of bounds. I think he's got a set of legs on him to be able to make the plays on the ground if need be. I think he's a very capable quarterback, and I think he's the best quarterback that the Browns have had since drafting Colt McCoy, or since those 4 games where Brian Hoyer was good. So I think Cleveland has a bright future. I just think they need to get the weapons there. He's got Nick Chubb, which is a great start. But he doesn't have many capable receivers. What's his name? Coolidge, I think. His tight end is really the only one that can make, any sort of meaningful play towards the middle of the field to get you down near where you need to be. And the defensive side of the ball doesn't really do much. The struggling Steelers team put up 33 on them yesterday. And this is a struggling Steelers team that forgot how kickoffs work, that put up 33 on the Browns yesterday. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. I don't have sources for football. I just watch football. And I watch football, I see what I see, and what I see is what I think. And what I think is that Baker Mayfield is the future of the Cleveland Browns. I just think he needs the help. And now that the Browns have their quarterback, now that the Browns have their guy, they can focus on getting weapons in the draft rather than a quarterback, which I know is got to feel like a great step for the fans. I think not having to go, all right, what quarterback is the most capable? We'll take him. Nope, never mind, they took the other guy. All right, here you go, New York, Here you go, Washington. That's just my take on it. I think that Baker Mayfield is on a better plane than Josh Rosen is. I think he's in a much better position than Lamar Jackson is, at least for now. Lamar Jackson's going to end up next year. He's going to be probably in a better position than Baker, depending on how the offseason goes, since he'll most likely be taking over for Joe Flacco, and he'll have a bunch of weapons to utilize, a bunch of deep threats. Mike Wallace, goddamn, what was his name? John Brown? I think it may be John Brown. I don't know. You used to play for the Cardinals. Lamar Jackson will be in a better position than Baker next year, but I think Baker is much more capable than Josh Rosen. I think Baker is in a better position than a Josh Rosen. I think Sam Darnold has so far shown to be the best quarterback in the draft. He kind of kept his mouth shut, didn't take too much of a step towards any direction that was unproven at the time. Started week 1, had a great showing, has been playing pretty solid football for the Jets, of all teams, which aren't as historically bad as we kind of assumed, but they're still the Jets. Excuse me. Yeah, Baker, I think he's absolutely the future of the Browns. I think it's just a matter of him staying healthy, which is always a concern. And it's a matter of him being given the weapons that he needs to succeed. receivers that can make plays, receivers that can run that out route to the right side of the field 12 yards past the line of scrimmage for a first down. Those receivers that can utilize a cutback, to head towards the right side of the field, get a quick throw, the first down, and get out of bounds to put them in field goal range. I think as soon as you get that, and perhaps like a deep threat, maybe like an overlooked deep threat, like a speedy slot receiver, I think at that point in time, you've got Baker enough weapons. I think your defense is somewhat stagnant. I think it's got a good wall that it puts up towards opposing offenses, but I don't think it's going to get the job done in the long run. So if I'm Cleveland, this year I utilized my first pick on a defensive kind of guy, because this does not look like a big receiver, like a good receiver draft. But I used my top picks on a defensive guy, and then try to see what I can get in free agency. And in free agency, if Le'Veon Bell comes back, perhaps you can lure him in, though you'll have Nick Chubb, so there's no reason to do that. Perhaps Antonio Brown will, kind of look for a trade in the offseason or next season. You never know. That would be a good position for you. And there are a bunch of receivers that, Deshaun Jackson I think he's going to be a free agent after this year. Mike Evans might be as well. I'm not really sure what his contract situation is looking like. You could trade for, like an underrated guy like Marquise Goodwin for the 49ers, who I'm a big fan of, but, we have Trent Taylor as well. We have Greg Kittle, or George Kittle, whatever the fuck his name is. I keep calling him both. Who's making the big plays that Marquise Goodwin really isn't, and also he's been kind of injury prone, but when he's on the field, he's a great weapon. So these are all options for the Browns, and I think Baker is that guy of the future, and as long as he can stay healthy, you're going to get a good couple of seasons out of him to really see whether he's the real deal or not, whether he's the guy that will win you the games that you need to win or not. And I think this year, it's his rookie season. It's his first year. You're still obviously rebuilding. You're in a better position than you have been many times before. And you're in an AFC North with a really, really, really weakening kind of side of things. Andy Dalton's still the quarterback of the Bengals. Marvin Lewis will coach until he's in his grave, and still at that point in time, they'll set up a Bose headset and monitor for him to coach from the grave. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be on his way out eventually in the next couple of years. Bell's going to be gone soon. Brown will probably end up leaving as well in the next couple of years. So the Steelers will be, weakened, looking for an identity. They still refuse to draft quarterbacks in hopes of replacing Ben Roethlisberger when they get to that point in time. So they're not really preparing for a rebuild. They'll just get there when they get there. And the Ravens are a stacked team right now, but they're sort of on the aging side of the spectrum, and aside from Lamar Jackson, their future seems to be a little blurry. So this is the best position that the Browns have been in since coming back to the league in 1999, and I think you really need to jump on it, and I think they're starting that now. So as long as they can keep on the right track, I think Baker and the remainder of the Browns organization will be eventually a perennial playoff contender for years to follow, as long as they can capitalize on what they have going and the AFC North keeps on the track that it's going. So, just my opinion on it. Back from the commercial break afterwards, we will talk about, I got 3 topics at hand. We'll choose one. Hardy Complex, back in 60.